Let's see that again. Do you know what went wrong there? Did you notice how the edge of the asphalt dropped down to the sloping curb and that our rider decided to stop right at the edge of that drop-off? The decision to stop in that spot was caused by inexperience. Hey, I'm Sal at Decco Ranch. You probably won't drop your bike the first time you ride it out on the street, but the odds are extremely high that it's going to be far from perfect ride. In other words, you'll be what I would call a work in progress. What happens after you graduate from the MSF course, the Motorcycle Safety Foundation course? Do you go out and buy the biggest, baddest motorcycle you can afford? After all, you do want to look cool when you start riding, right? Or do you buy a motorcycle more in line with your abilities, taking into account that you'll most likely drop that bike at least once during the first 6 months of riding? Then, do you just take off and start riding your new bike on the streets as though you've been riding it for years and expect that the necessary street skills will magically appear, even though you just learned the very basics to get you started? Or do you want to learn and build skills along the way before anything bad happens, so maybe bad things won't happen? Besides the 2 days of skills taught in the MSF course, how do you know what things you really need to learn to be safe on the streets? There's only one first street ride. Everyone is different. Today we'll watch Vi's first ride since her MSF course graduation. I'm headed now to meet up with Stacy. Together, we're going to accompany Vi on her first official motorcycle ride. It's been several months since she's been on a bike, so we're going to take it slow while working on all the basic skills we can. We'll be using our three 2020 Honda Rebel 500s for this ride. I'm on the blue Rebel, Stacy has the silver Rebel, and Vi is riding the black Rebel. While we watch Vi riding throughout the suburb, in and out, practicing the basic skills, sometimes successfully and sometimes not, I'll give you as many new rider tips as I can. For reference, Vi is 4 feet 11 inches tall. Now, to the world outside of the United States, that's just under 150 centimeters tall. We would have put her on the Honda Grom 125, but the 30-inch seat height, or 76 centimeters, was too tall for her comfort. It was important to Vi that her feet be able to reach the ground, as is probably the case with you when you first start riding. The Honda Rebel has a 27.2-inch seat height, or 69 centimeters, which is low enough for Vi to flat-foot it, and that makes her feel more in control of the bike and she's more comfortable. If you are a new rider unleashed on the world as you wait for your first street ride, I hope this video provides some insight and helps you get started. So as we watch Vi practice in the suburbs, let's talk about what you should practice as a totally new street rider. So I've broken this down into 8 categories. Number 1, practice your basic skills. You're going to try to find a low or no traffic area where you can practice the basics over and over and over and over until it is cemented in your muscle memory. This could be an empty or near empty parking lot for some. For others, it could be the street next to your house, going up and down the road a little further with each ride. We like to take new riders into a suburb with minimal traffic. This is where they can get plenty of practice on the basic skills like starts, stops, left turns, right turns, and looking where you want to go. Practice turning your turn signals on before each turn, and remember to turn them off by pressing the turn signal lever inward when the turn is completed. This is a big one because so many people forget their turn signals. They turn them on, and then it's embarrassing they're still on later. Practice U-turns, both directions, and shifting gears. And remember to practice downshifting so you automatically drop to first gear every time you stop. This puts you in position to start moving forward again, and that brings us to number 2, practice using the friction zone. Now, you may see this as part of practicing the basic skills, but using the friction zone to start forward motion on your motorcycle is worthy of its own subject. What is the friction zone? Good question. It's that moment as you're releasing the clutch and the bike's gears begin to engage. The friction zone continues until the clutch is almost fully released and no longer impacting the forward motion of the bike. Most new riders at some point will release the clutch either too fast or not provide enough throttle to keep the bike moving as they release the clutch, or they simply fail to drop to first gear at stop sign or light before taking off. All three of these things will cause the bike engine to stall at the most inopportune time, such as stop signs and stoplights just as they turn green. Unlike a car, or cager as some call them, you can't hurt the clutch by playing with it. Bikes have what's called a wet clutch, made just for this type of usage. How do you prevent from stalling your engine out on the road? Practice. Practice in first gear using the friction zone to get the bike moving. Practice slowly releasing the clutch until it starts to engage and the bike begins to move forward. Then pull the clutch back in. Practice this over and over. Practice gauging how slowly you need to release the clutch while at the same time adding just the right amount of throttle to not look like a wimp or a hooligan. You don't even need to bring the bike to a complete stop. Next, intentionally kill the engine. Kill the engine so you can practice starting it up in first gear while on the road. Practice this enough and you won't panic when you accidentally stall the engine in traffic. Think it's not going to happen to you? Oh, it will happen. And it will be very embarrassing to you, the rider, and you'll feel like the entire world knows that you're a newbie, a squid. Practice starting your engine quickly while in first gear, and you'll be able to pull that clutch in and start your bike so fast that most people around won't even know that the bike had stalled in the first place. When you practice this skill, make sure to keep the engine running a little before killing it again so you don't accidentally run the battery down and really embarrass yourself when your bike won't start at all because the battery has no more juice left to start the engine. But this is a great skill to practice, and most people don't even think about it. They just worry about it. You practice killing your engine and starting it quickly while in first gear, oh my gosh, you are going to look so good on the road when it does happen that you accidentally kill your bike. You will start it up so quick no one will even know. Number 3, be very careful on turns and curves. Turns and curves, we all know, are the most dangerous and deadly hazards for a new rider. New riders tend to approach a turn way too fast, as though they're driving a 4-wheel car instead of a 2-wheel motorcycle. They ride too fast going into a turn or sharper curve than their abilities can handle. Yet, serious road curves are one of the things that put a big smile on a rider's face, where you can exhilarate with the lean of your bike and the thrill of acceleration out of the curve. As a brand new rider, don't try to keep up with anyone else, particularly on a turn or curve. Slow, look, press, and roll. Remember what they taught you in the MSF course. Slow way down coming up to the turn, position yourself to see through the turn, get off the brakes, turn your head hard and look where you want to go, counter steer around the turn, then accelerate out. Acceleration, remember, helps stand your bike back up, so be careful not to accelerate too much too soon, or you may not make it all the way around that turn. What if you make it halfway around a turn or curve? Then realize you're not going to make it all the way successfully. You're just not making a sharp enough turn. You have a choice. Either look harder where you want to go and counter steer more for a sharper turn, or, and this is what a lot of people choose, run off the road and maybe crash. A very high percentage of new riders will panic when they realize they came into a turn too fast and they're not going to make it. They'll stop looking and counter steering, sit the bike straight up, and they'll just ride right off the edge of the road for a one-vehicle crash. Practice going slow into the turn, look hard, counter steer, and accelerate out. Just remember, the slower your bike is moving, the less you counter steer and the more you direct steer. Direct steering is the opposite, remember, of counter steering. When you direct steer, you turn the handlebars in the direction of the turn. This is how you turn very slow turns. You want to practice all of your basics at slow speed because working all of this slow work will help you to become a better rider as long as you practice good technique. This video was just too long, I thought, to put out as one giant video, so I broke it up into 3 parts. This was part 1 of 3, so please join me for the second part. In the meantime, ride safe and keep your horses moving.